Welcome back guys to Clown's Garage. In this video I will be changing out the steering gearbox in this 79 Camaro. Now this applies pretty much to almost all old cars. It's the same procedure. That is steering gearbox. It'll be exactly like this for anything from 1970 to 81 Camaro Firebird Trans Am. So first thing you do is put the wheel straight and make sure the steering wheel is also straight. Next thing is we're just going to take the tires off now. 13/16 is the size here. Now to get the pitman arm off, I'm using an adjustable wrench. And just take this nut off here and crack it loose. Just like that. Alright, now what you need here is a pitman arm puller. You can go to your local AutoZone or Advance, wherever, and you can rent this out for free. So what you do is you put this in here and just squeeze it in and it'll pull out. In there, what you gotta do is you gotta turn this clockwise and it'll pull this out, slide out. You don't need an air gun to do this, so I'm gonna first start using a breaker bar and I'm gonna continue the rest of it with my air gun, just so I can show you guys that you don't need an air gun to use this, to pull the pitman arm off. Right there. Now it's starting to come off. You see it sliding off. So now I'm just going to use the air gun to do the rest. And you're off. Alright, over here they have a little cover here. This is already unclipped. You just got to push these in and unclip this. So you just pull that to the top. And over here, just pull that off. So just twist it and pull this over that, and it should come right out, just like that. So I'm just gonna leave that just like that. That's a 7/16 bolt, so crack that loose. Alright, now you put a pry bar between where you took the bolt out and the box and pry it forward. Now sometimes the steering shaft won't telescope inwards, so you're going to have to squirt some WD-40 on the shaft and lubricate that shaft, baby. So let's see if I could get this to come up now. Looks like it should be. Coming off. Just like that. Alright, now crack these lines loose. These are 18 millimeters. You have to use either a flared wrench here or what I have, a crowfoot. So just go in there. Like that. One, crack this one loose too, just like that. Alright, so now I'm unthreading these by hand. Now over here, make sure you put a pan underneath because you're gonna have some power steering fluid loss. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take these lines off. one off too. Alright, now these are 16mm bolts and there's 3 of them here. So I'm going to go ahead and take those off. That's one. That's 2. And now the steering gearbox, you gotta hold it because it's gonna drop from underneath. Make sure it's square on there. And just have somebody over here hold the box and just slip it out. Just like that. Now the reason you might be asking why this looks like this, looks a little reddish, it's because I have a feeling they put in transmission fluid and mixed it with power steering fluid. So just in case you were wondering.
I didn't do it.
So I put a vice grip here. Now what you gotta do is you gotta count the turns from all the way lock to the left to all the way lock on the right. And you have to position this right in the middle. So there's a number of different ways you could do this. One way, what you could do here, for example, is I put a whiteout mark where this starts all the way from the one lock position. Then when you turn it all the way, you mark here where the other lock position is, and you should get it right between the two. Now over here, you can also do it this way. Count the number of turns. So that's all the way locked to the left, counterclockwise. Right there, where the jaws are pointing. So now I gotta turn it all the way to the other side. So this is 1. This is 2 turns. Then you got quarter, half, so 2 3/4 turns. Alright, so now I'm just going to go back to where we were before. And once I'm done with this, when I put this to the half, this mark over here should also be halfway over here, between these two marks. Sorry, between these two marks. Now, the pitman arm, there's grooves here that it slides into and they're spaced apart. So you don't have to get this exactly perfect. When you put the pitman arm in, it'll adjust itself. So you have to be pretty much in the ballpark. So this is not an exact science that I'm doing here. So now we have 2 3/4 turns from lock to lock. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go a turn and a quarter, then I'm gonna go an extra 1/8 of a turn. That would be exactly centered. So let's do that. So now a turn and a quarter. It's a turn. And the quarter would be here. And now an 1/8 of a turn would be here. So now if you look over here, this dot should be right in between in the middle, which it is. So now this box is centered. Now we can put this back on. All right, now put the box back in. I moved the steering lines to the side over there. So now I put one bolt, the top bolt in. Let's see if I can grab the top bolt. And as you move the box back and forth with one hand, and over here you can see on the other side, I just caught it and I threaded it in. So now you just have the bottom 2 bolts and this will be in place. So let me put those in too. Now put this in and this one. You can catch them in. I'm moving the box back and forth a little bit. Alright, so you just move the box back and forth a little bit. And that grabbed. And the other side grabbed too. Right there. Alright, see this groove over here? You have to line those grooves with the grooves inside here. So I already checked it and that looks good. So I'm just gonna put that in like that. Let's put just the nut first. Then you put the lock nut on later. The lock washer, I mean, on later. So let's thread that in. So as you can see, that's going in. So I'm just gonna thread it some more. So I have space to put this lock washer back in. And note where this was sitting before, I pretty much could stick one of my fingers in there barely. So that's how that's supposed to sit. So make a note how that sits so you can put it back in the same position. So now I'm just gonna put this lock washer in, sorry. Just like that. And make sure this flat piece goes up here. The rounded piece goes in the bottom. And now I'm just gonna tighten it back up. Alright, so you're good. And like I said, I barely fit my finger in there before. So you're good there. Alright, now over here, you see a flat spot up here. There's a flat spot in here, and it's right on top. So that flat spot has to line with that flat spot. So right there. Now I usually get a flathead and I knock it in place. And you're good. Now on the bolt, through bolt, I'm gonna put a little bit of blue thread locker on it. And again, remember this is 7/16 bolt. And you're good. Alright, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pour power steering fluid in here. And I'm gonna have the lines pointing down into a pan. Try to flush it out. You could also crank the car with the coil off, unplugged I mean, and just as you're cranking it, fill this up with power steering fluid and disconnect the pressure hoses and just have them pointing down until the fluid comes out. So right now we're just gonna fill this up with power steering fluid and have these lines pointing down and try to get most of that stuff out. So I'm gonna do that now. Alright, now I have both lines here. So we're gonna go ahead and fill it up and drain this out. So go ahead. And once this fluid comes out clear, then we should be good. As you can see, it's clearing up right now. And as you can see here, the fluid is clearing up. It's pretty much almost clear. So we really don't even have to crank the steering box. I mean the steering pump, the motor. Over here, you just twist these caps off. There's one here. One here. You can put a socket on if they're on tight, or a flathead on this one. Just take those off. Alright, so the high pressure hose, which is that one where it's clamped at the end, that goes over here, and the low pressure hose goes over here. So these lines, you gotta move them with one hand and try to catch them with the other. You don't want to cross thread these lines, because then you'd be hating your life. And the same thing with this one. That's good. That's good. Now put this cap back on. Alright, now with the wheels off the ground, you fill the power steering fluid all the way up, and you just crank the wheel from lock to lock. Give about 5 to 10 times without the engine running. And as you can see, the bubbles in there. So do that, and then fill it back up and repeat the process until all the bubbles are out. You hear the bubbles over there? So that's all I'm gonna do now. Alright, so we did that a couple times. The fluid's pretty much almost all the way to the top. It's right there. So what I'm gonna do now is we're gonna put the car back on the ground. We're gonna start it, and we're gonna drive it around a couple times, maybe around the block or whatever. Come back, and it should be, when we take this out, the cap, it should be at full hot all the way on top over here. I don't know if you can see in the camera, but it's right there, the level. And if it's not, we're gonna fill it up and close it back down and check it maybe like in a day or two to see if the fluid level is good. Also check for leaks, mainly over here where you disconnected the lines, so it's not leaking from there. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel. Like me, share me, do how you want me. See ya.